In the summer of 1972, a small town along the Mississippi River became the center of one of America's strangest monster scares. Children ran home screaming. Residents reported a horrifying stench drifting from the woods. Hunters searched the forests armed with rifles. And somewhere in the dense underbrush of Missouri, witnesses claimed a massive hairy creature was watching. A creature they would call Momo the Missouri Monster. Was it a misunderstood animal, a Bigfoot-like cryptid, or simply a case of mass hysteria that spread through an entire community? Tonight, we're diving deep into one of the Midwest's most forgotten monster mysteries. This is the story of Momo. Before we meet the monster, we need to understand where this story begins. Louisiana, Missouri sits on the western bank of the Mississippi River. Despite the name, it has nothing to do with the state of Louisiana. In 1972, it was a quiet river town where people knew their neighbors. Crime was low. Most excitement came from high school football games, church gatherings, and local fairs. It seemed like the last place where a monster legend would emerge. Yet, that would soon change. The summer of 1972 was unusually hot. The woods surrounding the town were thick and humid. Children played outside until sunset. Families left windows open to catch the evening breeze. Then came the sighting that would make national headlines. On July 11th, 1972, several children were playing near a wooded area outside town. What happened next would become legendary. According to reports, the children suddenly spotted something standing near the trees. At first, they thought it was a person. Then they realized something was very wrong. The creature was enormous, covered in dark hair. Standing upright, witnesses estimated it stood between 6 and 7 feet tall. Some accounts claimed it had a strangely shaped head. Others described long arms hanging below its waist. But one detail stood out more than anything else: the smell. The children described an overwhelming odor, like garbage, rotting meat, death. One report claimed the creature was carrying the carcass of a dead dog. Terrified, the children ran. When they reached home, they were hysterical. At first, many adults dismissed the story. Kids have active imaginations, especially during summer. But then more reports began coming in, and soon the entire town was talking about the monster in the woods. The story spread quickly. Neighbors told neighbors. Parents warned children not to wander into the woods. Rumors grew larger with each retelling. Some claimed they saw glowing eyes. Others reported hearing strange screams at night. A few residents insisted they smelled the creature long before they ever saw it. The odor became one of Momo's defining characteristics. People described it as unbearable, an animal-like stench mixed with decay. Soon, sightings multiplied. Was the creature truly appearing all over town? Or were frightened residents beginning to interpret ordinary events through the lens of fear? That's one of the biggest questions surrounding the Momo case, because once fear enters a community, strange things begin to happen. Every noise becomes suspicious. Every shadow becomes threatening. Every rustle in the woods becomes evidence. Yet some witnesses remained adamant. They knew what they saw, and they believed it wasn't human. As reports increased, residents decided to take matters into their own hands. Search parties formed. Hunters entered the forests. Some carried rifles, others carried cameras. Everyone wanted a glimpse of the Missouri Monster. The local sheriff became involved. News reporters arrived. What had started as a children's story was now becoming a regional sensation. Searchers combed through wooded areas looking for evidence. Occasionally, they discovered unusual tracks, but none could be conclusively linked to a monster. Some claimed to hear movement just beyond sight, branches snapping, heavy footsteps, something large moving through the underbrush. Yet, whenever anyone investigated, they found nothing. The creature seemed to vanish, almost as if it knew it was being hunted. The media loved the story. After all, America was in the middle of a monster craze. The late 1960s and early 1970s saw a surge in reports of mysterious creatures. Bigfoot was making headlines. The Fook monster in Arkansas had gained national attention. The famous film The Legend of Boggy Creek would soon capitalize on America's fascination with cryptids. Momo fit perfectly into this cultural moment. Newspapers printed dramatic headlines. Television crews interviewed witnesses. Curiosity seekers traveled to Louisiana, Missouri, hoping to spot the beast. Some local businesses even embraced the legend. Monster-themed merchandise appeared. The creature became a tourist attraction. Ironically, the monster that frightened residents was also helping the local economy. But amid the excitement, skeptics began asking difficult questions. Where was the evidence? Where were the photographs? Where were the remains? Many cryptid researchers believe Momo may have been a Bigfoot-type creature. The similarities are obvious. Large, hair-covered, bipedal, strong odor, remote woodland habitat. These characteristics appear repeatedly in Bigfoot reports throughout North America. Some researchers argue that regional names differ, but the creature remains the same. Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest, the Fook monster in Arkansas, the skunk ape in Florida, and Momo in Missouri. Could witnesses have encountered the same unknown species? It's an intriguing possibility. Yet, unlike famous Bigfoot cases, the Momo sightings lacked strong physical evidence. No clear photographs emerged. No hair samples proved authentic. No body was ever found. As quickly as the sightings appeared, they began to fade. Skeptics point to several possible explanations. One theory involves a misidentified bear. Black bears can stand upright. In poor lighting conditions, they may appear surprisingly human-like. A startled witness might exaggerate a bear's size, especially if fear is involved. Another possibility is a hoax. Could someone have worn a costume? The 1970s were filled with monster enthusiasm. A prank could easily spiral out of control. Others believe the entire incident was fueled by social contagion, a psychological phenomenon where belief spreads through a group. Once the first sighting occurred, people may have unconsciously interpreted normal events as evidence supporting the story. This doesn't mean witnesses were lying. Many likely believed exactly what they reported. Human perception is simply more complicated than we realize, especially when fear enters the equation. Then, almost as suddenly as it began, the sightings stopped. The search parties ended. Reporters moved on. The monster vanished. No dramatic capture, no final confrontation, no definitive explanation, just silence. Over time, Momo became another chapter in cryptid history, a strange summer memory for those who lived through it. A curious footnote for monster researchers, and a fascinating example of how quickly legends can emerge. But the story wasn't forgotten, because legends rarely die. They simply wait. Perhaps the most interesting part of the Momo story isn't whether the creature existed. It's why people were so willing to believe. Humans have always told stories about things lurking beyond the edge of civilization. Monsters in forests, creatures in caves, unknown beings hiding in darkness. These stories help us confront our fears. They transform uncertainty into something we can understand. In 1972, Momo became the embodiment of the unknown, the unexplained noises in the woods, the strange smell drifting through the air, the fear of something watching from the darkness. Whether real or imagined, the monster served a purpose. It gave shape to fears that otherwise had no face. More than 50 years later, the mystery remains unsolved. Did a group of children encounter an unknown creature? Was Momo a Bigfoot-like cryptid roaming the Missouri wilderness? A bear mistaken for something supernatural? Or a story that grew larger with every retelling? The truth may never be known, but somewhere in Louisiana, Missouri, people still remember the summer when fear swept through town, the summer when children ran from the woods, when hunters searched the darkness, and when an entire community wondered whether a monster was hiding just beyond the trees. Perhaps that's why the story endures. Because every forest has shadows, every shadow sparks questions, and sometimes we can't help but wonder what's staring back. Do you think Momo was a real cryptid, a misidentified animal, or a hoax? Let us know in the comments.